Have you ever wondered why the grains ants store do not germinate? I'm Timon, and today I'll explain it to you. Seed damage. When ants collect grains and carry them back to the nest, the process is rarely harmless for the seed itself. The mandibles of ants apply constant pressure, and the seed often gets scratched, pressed, or slightly cracked along its outer coat. That outer coat is not just a shell, it is the protective layer that keeps the embryo alive and stable. Even small invisible fractures can interrupt the internal structure needed for germination. Once the embryo is exposed to stress, drying, or mechanical pressure, its biological activity weakens. Over time, the seed may still look intact, but its ability to sprout has already been reduced or completely lost during transport and handling. Dry nest conditions. Inside many ant nests, the environment is intentionally kept dry to protect the colony and stored food. This dryness helps prevent mold and decay, but it is not suitable for seeds that rely on moisture to activate growth. Germination begins when water enters the seed and triggers internal enzymes, yet in dry soil chambers this process cannot start. Instead, seeds slowly lose their remaining moisture. Without water, the internal tissues stay inactive, almost frozen in time. Even if conditions outside the nest become favorable later, the seed may already be too dehydrated to restart its biological processes. Germ removal. Some ant species actively target the most nutritious part of a seed, known as the germ. This is the section that contains the embryo and the energy needed for a new plant to grow. Ants may scrape, bite, or process seeds in a way that separates or damages this core structure while still using the rest of the seed as food storage. Once the germ is removed or injured, the seed loses its reproductive ability completely. What remains inside the nest is technically still a grain, but it has been transformed into a non-viable food fragment rather than a living seed capable of germination. Ventilation tunnels. Ant nests are built with complex tunnel systems that control airflow and temperature. These ventilation channels help regulate gases inside the colony, but they also affect stored seeds. Air moving through these tunnels can keep conditions too stable and too dry for germination to begin. In natural soil, seeds often rely on fluctuating moisture and temperature changes to trigger growth. Inside these controlled tunnel systems, those natural variations are reduced. As a result, seeds remain in a suspended state, unable to detect the environmental signals that would normally activate their development. Food monitoring. Ant colonies constantly monitor their stored food, including seeds, to maintain survival efficiency. Workers regularly inspect storage chambers, moving items that show signs of decay or moisture imbalance. This continuous activity prevents seeds from staying undisturbed long enough to experience natural germination conditions. Every time a seed is moved, its environment changes slightly, breaking any chance of stable development. Germination requires consistency, but inside a monitored storage system, seeds are repeatedly checked, relocated, and adjusted. This constant attention keeps them in a controlled cycle of storage, rather than allowing them to transition into growth. Food rotation. Ants often rotate their stored food between different chambers depending on temperature, humidity, and colony needs. Seeds may be moved from deeper tunnels to shallower ones and back again. Each movement changes their exposure to light, air, and moisture. While this behavior helps prevent spoilage for the colony's food supply, it interrupts the steady conditions seeds need to activate germination. A seed cannot begin its growth cycle if its environment keeps shifting. Instead of developing roots or shoots, it remains in a repeated cycle of relocation, never settling long enough to begin biological transformation. Seed cleaning. Before storing seeds, ants often clean them by removing soil particles, fungal spores, or soft outer layers. This cleaning process is useful for preserving food quality, but it can also remove essential protective structures from the seed. Some seeds rely on these outer layers to regulate moisture intake and protect the embryo from environmental stress. When ants strip these coverings, the seed becomes more vulnerable to drying and internal damage. Without its natural protective barriers, the seed loses the balance needed for germination, even if it still appears visually complete inside the nest. Natural dormancy. Many seeds already have built-in dormancy mechanisms that prevent them from germinating too early in the wild. This dormancy requires specific triggers like seasonal temperature changes, prolonged moisture, or exposure to light cycles. Inside an ant nest, these triggers are absent or inconsistent. As a result, seeds remain in their dormant state for extended periods without ever receiving the correct environmental signals to wake up. In some cases, this dormancy becomes permanent due to other conditions inside the nest, such as dryness or damage, making germination impossible even when the seed itself was originally viable. So which of these surprised you the most? Drop your answer in the comments below. I'd love to know. And if you learned something new today, hit that like button, subscribe for more videos like this, and share this with someone who would never guess that ants could stop an entire seed from ever becoming a plant.